Well, on Sunday, the Steelers improved their AFC North leading record to 10-3 after their Week 14 win over the Browns, and did so without the talents of their third-year wideout George Pickens. And Pittsburgh seems to be headed into another week without their top wide receiver. According to reports, Pickens suffered a grade 2 hamstring strain. According to head coach Mike Tomlin, the injury is a little more significant following an MRI results. We now welcome in CBS Sports NFL analyst John Breech as we begin to turn the page to that final stretch of the NFL season, and obviously plenty still up for grabs for a number of clubs, including a division title and possibly to move their way up in the AFC standings for the Pittsburgh Steelers. But for now, they'll be forced to play their second straight game without their top receiver, with George Pickens, his injury being more significant than previously thought. He's going up against an Eagles team that's strung together 9 straight and looking to clinch a division title of their own. But John, what's your thoughts on Pittsburgh's chances rolling into the link this week a little shorthanded?
Well, I mean, losing George Pickens is absolutely a big blow, especially when you're playing an Eagles team that has been one of the best in the NFL at stopping the pass. They've given up the second fewest passing yards this year. Their secondary's been strong. And one of the issues is Russell Wilson not having Pickens. Russell Wilson's absolutely a better quarterback when George Pickens is on the field. We all know how much Russell Wilson loves throwing those rainbow balls, those deep balls. Well, George Pickens is the best guy on that roster when it comes to hauling those in, when it comes to making contested catches. He loved getting those from Russell Wilson. So you kind of lose that element in your offense. And when you look at what Russell Wilson's production has been, he's been really good with George Pickens on the field. And then you look at what happened in Week 14 without George Pickens, and that offense just wasn't the same. Russell Wilson completed fewer than 60% of his passes. He only threw for 158 yards against the Browns. And that ended up being a game where the defense kind of had to carry the team. And now Week 15, I don't know if that's going to work because you are playing such a high-powered Eagles offense. So the Steelers are absolutely going to need more production from the offense that they got in Week 14 against the Browns. And so it becomes a matter of who is going to step up for them. Is it going to be Mike Williams? Is it going to be Scotty Miller, Calvin Austin? They're going to need a big game from Pat Freiermuth. So the Steelers, Russell Wilson specifically, is going to have to find someone else to get the ball to. But it definitely hurts if George Pickens is not out there on Sunday.
You talk about this Eagles high-powered offense, but it's not like Philly doesn't have some issues of their own. Instead of their situation coming inside of the locker room, with A.J. Brown voicing his frustrations with Philly's passing game and details being revealed about his deteriorating, I feel like that's a safe word to say, about that relationship with quarterback Jalen Hurts. But what's your take on everything that's just unfolding out in Philly, and if there should be any cause for concern?
Well, Kiana, absolutely there should be a cause for concern, because usually winning cures everything. If winning 9 games in a row hasn't cured this, that is a huge red flag that maybe these guys are kind of at odds. And Brandon Graham kind of alluded to it. When you have a teammate kind of airing the dirty laundry, saying, yeah, maybe the guys don't get along, that's another red flag. So clearly A.J. Brown, Jalen Hurts need to get on the same page. Now, I understand why A.J. Brown is frustrated. You look at what the Eagles offense has been this season. The passing game has kind of taken a backseat to Saquon Barkley. And even when they do try to throw the ball, it has been a struggle. Jalen Hurts has been held under 180 passing yards in each of his past 3 games. And he's really struggled to throw the ball downfield. He's just 4 of 12 for 71 yards on throws of 10 or more air yards over the past 2 weeks. And so I understand why A.J. Brown is frustrated, but you cannot throw your quarterback under the bus in the middle of a 9-game winning streak. Just ride the wave, and you don't want this to turn into last season. We all know what happened. The Eagles had that second half collapse, and it was a total disaster. So I think you got to keep the frustrations in-house, and, you know, you have a few weeks. You've already got your playoff berth clinched. You don't have to worry about that. You have a few weeks to figure out how to get this passing game going, but I'm not sure I would be complaining publicly if I was A.J. Brown.
The timing wasn't quite great. Like you said, ride that wave, especially considering we are just a year removed from that collapse we saw in the latter half of last season. But we do have a quote coming from Eagles head coach on A.J. Brown's frustrations. Nick Sirianni saying, it didn't take it that way. You can do anything and spin it any way. I took it as we want to get better as a passing attack. A.J. is a part of that passing attack. And so we all want to be better. Interesting words coming from the head coach, of course, obviously trying to put out whatever fires that might be said. But nonetheless, I want to move on to what else is going on outside of the NFL world, kind of, John, because Bill Belichick he could be taking the sidelines again soon, but not just on the pro level with an offer on the table to coach at UNC. Just considering the way he missed out on last year's coaching cycle, do you think this move, it might be the best move for a 6-time Super Bowl winning head coach?
At first, when I heard about this, I wasn't so sure, but the more you kind of look at the situation, it does kind of make sense. Because look, if you're Bill Belichick, this is it. You have to get a job this year. You are 72 years old. You are not getting any younger. You cannot take another year off. And when you look at college football has become, it's turning into the NFL where the players are getting paid. The transfer portal is turning into, it's like making trades. So now Bill Belichick understands how to run a college program. And if I'm him, I've got this great reputation. I've got these 6 Super Bowl rings with the Patriots, and you can walk into North Carolina, which has a bunch of deep-seated, deep-pocketed boosters who would probably be glad to have him, and he brings that kind of track record there. I do feel like if they hire him, he's going to be able to put his foot down and get anything he wants. And so I don't think this is that crazy. And then you look at Belichick, and he can build his roster instantly because of the transfer portal. You don't have to recruit as hard as you used to because money does your recruiting for you. And all you have to do is get the talented players in there and then coach well, which Belichick has a long history of doing. So I do think Bill Belichick in North Carolina could work if it happens.
Starting to make sense the longer you sit on it, but it's just amazing just to think 50 years coaching in those NFL ranks, potentially coming to coach college. But however, college ball is becoming more and more like the NFL, considering NIL, transfer portal, so on and so forth. So maybe not too far-fetched. But I got to say, shout out to the editors because I love that montage of him throwing those challenge flags. All right, John Breech, as always, we appreciate you stopping by. Thanks so much for that insight.